What is up, denizens of the interwebs? It's Arza Chats here, coming at you with another video, and this time we're doing the Agatha 2 review. Sadly, no wine this time, so let's just get it over with. I hear they're saying in this one, I really don't want to listen to a bunch of 40-year-old women and one gay guy sing. It won't be fun. So, like, subscribe, and hop in, losers. I don't know if we're making it through. This episode is 42 minutes long. Why does it have a nearly 2-minute long recap? So if that gets any longer, why are they wasting my time? They keep putting the title of the episode here like it's supposed to be cool or something. It just wastes more time. This show is so far all about wasting time. I say we keep Joe lockbound. The less we hear Teen speak, the better. That was the lamest attempt to motivate her to let him go with. He asked her to take him on the witch's road. She says it doesn't exist. He says that that's something only professional witches say just to keep amateurs from going down it. And she just basically accepts like that. She retorts, that's no place for a kid. He responds, I'm 16. So she says there's no place for a teen. I'm waiting for an original idea and to not have my time wasted. Please. And of course, he's completely obsessed with Agatha and is now just tooting her horn to try and get her to take him with her. Nothing excites a lesbian like stoking her vanity. She asks him why he wants to go down the road, if he can break the Scarlet Witch's spell, and he goes that he's looking for power. May I remind you of the quote from The Acolyte, it's about power and who's allowed to use it. All these people are obsessed with power. All I'm curious about is exactly what the showrunner for this show wants, because we know that the showrunner for The Acolyte wanted the power from Harvey Weinstein. He finds the locket of the 3 crowns that she tried to get information on during the hallucination, and that gives her a second of pondering. She opens it, then closes it, and then asks the boy, who's definitely not Wiccan, who are you? Leading to this, very obviously a W, covering his mouth and preventing him from talking. And of course, we all know that the W is either referencing Wanda or Wiccan because he's tied to one of the two, though it's unclear as to why he can't tell Agatha his name. And then she just lets him come along, because why not? I'm not sure what's happening in this scene. She puts together a makeshift car, takes her a second to realize that it's not actually a car. I assume that this was probably the car she was using while trapped inside of Wanda's fake world. It's not really a funny joke. It might have been if the show was better written and Kathryn Hahn wasn't phoning it in the scene, but it could be humorous, I guess. Mostly it just continues to waste my time as the rest of the show has been wasting time non-stop. The closest thing to a scene that I'm not going to complain about is Kathryn Hahn spitting on the fake house that Wanda had crafted. And I guess we know that Agatha does, in fact, spit on that thing. That is the straightest movement Joe Locke has ever made in his entire life. As far as exposing sexuality, this isn't a bad way to do it because it's just a see it or you miss it, except the ringtone's terrible, the picture's not very good either, and who uses boy F? Also, did we need the show to confirm to us that Wiccan was gay? Was it not obvious to literally anyone who's ever seen a person?
Wherever you are, a coven there shall be.
That's beautiful.
No, it's definitely not.
I'll give that one props. It was almost funny. According to her, what that meant is that there will always be enough witches to form a coven within a 3-mile radius, which I hope we're not supposed to take that literally, because that would mean there are a lot of witches. And what if you're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean? What if you're just like stranded on like a boat in the middle of nowhere? Are there still enough witches around you to formulate a whole coven within 3 miles? These rules don't seem to work the way they want them to. As over the top and overly drawn out as this scene is, I am enjoying Kathryn Hahn's performance just because she is still a talented actress, even if the writing is terrible. She is really allowed to shine, even though most of the time it comes off as overacting, but the overacting is excusable because that is Kathryn Hahn's style, and it kind of fits the character of Agatha Harkness that we're shown in the show at least. It doesn't fit at all for the character in the comics, but Marvel hasn't cared about the comics in 15 years, so that's fine.
They took your agency.
Fuck off, show. This agency bullshit is so goddamn tired. Remember, in The Acolyte, Master Soul took the agency of Osha because he said it was okay to kill her. I'm so tired of this agency stuff. It's just nothing more than more gobbledygook bullshit stuff to pretend to be victimized. Now I'll give props to the scene. They do skip a lot of the hand-holding that most of the Disney shows have been dealing with a lot. But it's still really slow, but the scene actually plays out a little bit as we're building up a little bit of tension as she's getting more and more correct and actually knows exactly why Agatha is there and tells her she's not interested. And then Joe Locke has to ruin it by going, wait, what? How everyone feels watching this show. This scene is actually pretty fine, aside from Joe Locke. And I can't really tell if it's the writing, directing, or acting from Joe Locke. But something about him is just completely ripping us out of this scene because he plays an outsider that's just a little bit too far on the outside. But Agatha and this other witch are doing really well playing off of each other, but that's mostly due to Kathryn Hahn's ability to act and her personal charisma. I do affirm her shaming Joe Locke and calling him her pet, and that's perfectly fine with me. Though I'm pretty sure that was just done, so in case Wiccan can't say his name to other witches, no one else knows that. She fills into the divination witch that she can't steal magic unless you attack her with it first, which I don't know if it's true or not. They're just putting in more rules that I doubt they're going to follow through with. If they do, that's a little bit of props, but it's just more rules that they're putting into the show that already isn't following the rules they've established. But it's still a well-performed performance from Kathryn Hahn, as per usual. And then also showing Kathryn Hahn using some prowess, using this eviction notice. Whether or not it's really for this woman or not, I'm not sure, but still using it as a way to lock her between a rock and the witch's road is a pretty smart idea. Though it would have been nicer if we got a little bit of background on this character and had seen that the eviction notice was a risk before it was revealed in this episode, because it's kind of just coming out of nowhere, and if it was just hinted at somewhere else, that would have been a lot better. Such as several of the other stores in the neighborhood being out of business or having similar problems. I'm not sure what would be great, but I feel like them just pulling it out was just, oh crap, we wrote ourselves into a hole, time to fix the hole. After refusing them once more, she gets another vision. This time it blows the power out and she scribbles something on the eviction notice. She claims that what she scribbles out is the Three of Pentacles, which I just happen to have one of right here in my handy dandy tarot deck that I used to entrust women in my freshman year of college. So, to just put the cart before the horse, let's take a look at what the Three of Pentacles actually says. The Three of Pentacles indicates that you'll be recognized for your skills and achievements. While establishing a new venture, you have honored your skills and built a good reputation. Now you must reassess your goals and develop in a new direction. Financial affairs will blossom. So obviously with the eviction notice, the lack of customers, it's clear that her financial affairs are not blossoming. My only guess is it's trying to say that should she actually go down the witch's road, she will be blessed once more and will receive the financial and business ventures that she desires and will actually gain the strength to be a successful divination witch again. Of course, I could just be doing all the work for the showrunner instead of how it would normally go where the showrunner puts in a little bit of effort. It also contains a list of 4 other witches that she divines being under coven without realizing that she wrote her own name. I guess this one is Lilia.
Can't say no to you.
God, please tell me it's intentional. Please tell me it's intentional. Please tell me his bad performances are intentional. It is driving me up a wall. I love the diverse, multicultural lesbians that find their way into every single Marvel show. And of course, these 2 witches have a history, and of course, she hates Agatha, because who doesn't hate Agatha? She has had the same conversation with every single person she's talked to so far. Oh, the witch's road is a dead end. Literally, you're gonna die if you go down it. Well, I walked down the witch's road and I was fine, so I can do it again. It's the same discussion every single time. Stop wasting my time. My God. Wiccan, please, friggin' stop. So Agatha and her hit each other. Turns out the witch played by Zamada has been kicked out of the coven. She is completely banned. She's not allowed to practice witchcraft anymore. Her magic was actually revoked, even though she's still a useful potions master. And of course, because contrivances, Joe Locke, for some reason, knows who Zamada is. He supposedly has followed her. Now, of course, that could just be him being quick thinking, but so far we're not being shown that. And he claims that she has cleared out his pores and is trying to blow smoke up her magical ass just to get her to join their team. So it was just him being clever, which I'll give them props for. He looked her up real quick while they were talking, because of course someone like her obviously tried to go for the influencer route, because you can just feel the narcissism coming off of her bald head. So he successfully blackmails her into joining them by basically pointing out the fact that she has burnt over 8,000 different people, all of whom I will have to assume deserved it for buying into her scam products, and used that to levy the fact that she has no choice but to join them, otherwise she's going to jail, probably for life, for the amount of people she has injured through fraudulent products. And she steals a jade egg to shove up her put. Joe Locke points out that they have 2 more names to go. Kathryn Hahn says, no, just only 1, and then she eats the paper to stop him from looking at the other name, so I'm going to assume it's Audrey Plaza's character. Sorry, as my dad decided to point out in my comment section, Aubrey Plaza's character.
I don't want to ever hear those words paired together again.
I take back every bad thing I've said about Agatha Harkness. She gets freaked out every single time she sees an animal. First she's being stalked by corvids, and now they find a rat. Of course, I assume that these are familiars being used by the Salem 7 to track her down. The witch they're looking for works at a goddamn Spencer's. I bet she favors the back area. And of course, she completely gives up on trying to convince the Blood Witch to join them on the road, who just so happens to be someone who has actual motivation to go down the road, has motivation to not believe in it, and, of course, is connected to some really powerful witch. This all just screams contrivedness, but I guess that's kind of what they were going for, given the justification of the doctrine that there's always a witch within 3 miles of you. I guess the whole show is just, yeah, everything is contrived as all hell, we're just gonna go with it. She continues to be barred from knowing anything about him as a person, asking where he's from, and he completely goes into a ramble, because of course a man like Joe Locke can't just give a single word answer, but the entire time is completely blurred out as though his head's underwater. She can't understand a single thing he's saying. I will always revel at the chance to not be able to hear what not Wiccan is trying to say. There is now a coyote who's staring her down as the day gets closer to sunset, which I suppose is just another one of the Salem 7's familiars tracking her down. I'm out of words.
Maybe if I, just put it a little more to the...
Based as fuck. Well, at least they understand how women talk to each other, with all the spite that 2 people could possibly have for one another when they've never even met. And of course, she just happens to show, because why not? And of course, they're fighting over it because Catherine Hahn decided to skip out on the Earth Witch, or Green Witch, that's supposedly the most important one to have on the road, and of course, that's pretty obvious, it's Aubrey Plaza. Her name wasn't written or divined, it was a fucking heart. Could you be more goddarn heavy-handed with the crap you're trying to push? I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still better than the Acolyte, but come on. To solve the problem of not having a green witch, she goes and gets her neighbor who was in the WandaVision nightmare. During the nightmare, her name was Heart, and that's the Black Heart, the name was Heart, and she's a gardener, so obviously she's got a green thumb, so she's thinking she can trick the other witches to skipping Aubrey Plaza altogether and just using her. Yay. They're gonna sing. Yoop-de-doo. And the first case of monkeypox recorded in bunnies started on this scene. The first half of the song wasn't actually bad. It did sound kind of haunting and kind of old, as a witch's song should. The second part, though, isn't doing it as well. But I do like some of the sound design they're using, such as the bell, the reverb, and of course, here we have what I assume is one of the Salem 7. Yep, it's the 7. But I will actually give them props. The scene where the 7 appear, they start out in one line and they immediately shoot out. It was decently well done. I try to give credit where credit's due. I actually do like this design for this member of the 7. Though I'm not really sure what I'm looking at, it does look loosely intimidating. Aside from the fact that could just be a pair of lacy underwear on her face, which, given the theming of the show, it very well might be. They're of course using a common technique to make the Salem 7 look a bit creepier, where they slow down and speed up the frame rate intermittently to make them look like they're moving naturally, to maintain a sense of occult, which I will say it looks good. It always looks good. It's hard to mess that up. I have to give props again. I do like the fact that she's crying here, given the fact that her mom is supposedly lost on the Witch's Road. That's a little detail that most people would have skipped. I would have especially expected Disney to have skipped it, but I actually do appreciate that little detail. And it doesn't work. They don't open the gate, and it's obviously because they didn't get a green witch, but of course, these 2 witches start immediately fighting, because women. And of course, as Agatha's about to die, she just starts insulting all the other witches. Which is based. Good on her. I approve of this message. Obviously, she's baiting them into blasting with her powers so she can use her signature ability and steal the magic from them. Which I'm glad they remember all of their Chekhov guns. But oh, it did work! They did open the door, which I guess means that the random neighbor is also a witch? Whatever. And she has now kidnapped a poor, innocent old lady. I'd also forgotten to mention, but it was really obvious that the song that Agatha was humming in the car on the way to the police crime scene that she was hallucinating about was in fact the Witch's Road song, which I did call out as being the obvious callback. it's fine. I give them props for maintaining the continuity, but once again, none of it is good or even particularly great. And of course, like my problem with the Penguin, is there are a lot of spots in this episode where the show should have ended, like right here. We still have 8 minutes left, which I assume 4 of that's going to be credits. We're basically at the end, but I really think it should have ended probably right now. It also could have ended, as soon as they got to the house. There are a million spots where they could have ended the show, but they just keep going. They just won't end it. I assume it's just out of fear that people will not come back for future episodes. That way, they'll watch the first 2 episodes, and Disney Plus gets 80 minutes of watch time, which they can then report to the advertisers, and then the next episode, if no one comes back, they still got the 80 minutes. Instead of releasing the first 2 20-minute episodes, they would only end up reporting 40 minutes. And I'll give props, the background environment doesn't look terrible. It's very clear they're not in the volume. They're clearly on a soundstage, which I give them props for, because when you use the volume, it really just comes out, like Agatha, completely soulless. Disney has discovered Feet Finder, and I assume it's the only way they're going to get the budget back for this show. And then, of course, as soon as the credits start, they actually do give us the exact reason why they took their shoes off, which I guess I don't really much of a problem with, because that's hiding small little tidbits in the credits without having to explain everything, and I appreciate them not explaining everything. I will immediately rescind this compliment if they tell us why they took their shoes off. But it says, "You shall remove your shoes before touching the hallowed ground. In order to something to the power of the earth, you must touch your feet to the soil and channel her divine magic through you. There must be nothing between, no rubber or wood, not a soul, just your soul." Nice little play on words. It works. It's fine. I don't have an issue with it at all. I think that's actually a nice little touch. So I will give it props where I think it might deserve props. Why are the Simpsons in the end credits? And just to note, the credits are 6 minutes long, and the intro is 2 minutes, so that's 8 minutes wasted on credits and previously on. And that's just ultimately the issue with this show. It's the exact same thing that was the problem in the last episode and in this episode. They're too long. There's so much bloat and so much waste. You could have made an actually good episode out of this if you just cut a lot of things out of it. It's very clear that this show suffered from the toxic positivity that's all the rage right now. It's very clear that someone just didn't want to say no, when in reality that's all we needed was for one person just to go, "No, we shouldn't do that, that's too much, that wasn't funny," or whatever. Just say no. Get it out of there. The script's too long. The episode was too long. If this was a 20-minute episode, I would feel a lot better about it. But ultimately, not a lot happened. A lot of meandering, a lot of traveling, a lot of dead air where no one's talking. And a lot of things that don't offer anything up to the story. Now, this episode was a lot better than the last episode. I will give it that. I think I rated the last episode as a 5 out of 10, I want to say. So I'm going to give this one a 6.5. Almost a passing score. This episode wasn't horrible. I actually didn't mind the singing thing, but I do actually like musicals, so you know. The song is just like everything else. The song, I think, was 3 minutes long. That's too long. It should have been a 1-minute sequence of them singing the song, and I actually liked the first about a minute of that scene, but after that first minute, it just got so long. It was just tedious to that point, and they just kept going, and the verses just kept getting worse. If they had just cut it off at 1 minute, would have been fine. So yeah, it's still okay. It's still better than The Acolyte. It's not nearly as cringe, the character's better, but it's mostly because the actors have really good chemistry. I really like Kathryn Hahn, and she seems to play well off of everyone else, and even though she's doing all of the work. It's all Kathryn Hahn. No one else is putting in any work to the show, and it's very clear, and she's really the selling point. I do like Kathryn Hahn as an actress, and she's showing her chops, so I have to give praise for that. And that's it. Nothing happened. It was boring, and I want to like it. I don't want to hate things. I do think I'm going to recommend this show to my mom, at the very least. I suspect she'd enjoy it. Sorry, Dad. You have to suffer, I guess. But, yeah, ultimately, it's just like a 6.5 out of 10. It's not great. It's not horrible. It's far from the worst thing I've seen. And once again, it's not meant for Marvel fans. So why is it advertised as Marvel? You could put Marvel in the end credits. Get the word Marvel out of it. It's not Marvel's Agatha all along. It's just... call it the Coven. Don't even call it Agatha all along, because most people who are drawn to the show don't know that name. They don't know the significance of that. So just get it out of there, and you would draw a lot more people in, because ultimately by advertising this as a Marvel show, you are costing yourself the audience who actually wants to watch this, because the people I know who would enjoy this show want nothing to do with Marvel. it's not that weird of a concept, and ultimately, if they just made that one change, it would probably be fine, and would actually probably be decently well received and actually get decent viewership. Because, like I said, the show is okay for what it is, but the people who would watch it aren't going to watch it because they don't like Marvel. But that's pretty much all I've got today. So thanks for coming along and just suffering with me. Hopefully it gets better, or if it gets worse, my viewership will increase, so there's that too.